Yes, he's worthy of all of our praises. For a few minutes in the book of St. Mark's Gospel, chapter 9. And as we were meeting and deliberating yesterday, we had a wonderful session with the men. And as we were liberating, and I was talking to the Reverend William Davis, this particular text came to mind. And in St. Mark's Gospel, chapter 9, beginning at verse 14, he says, "And when he came to his disciples, he saw a great multitude about them, and the scribes questioning with them. And straightway all the people, when they beheld him, were greatly amazed, and running to him, saluted him. And he asked the scribes, What question ye with them? And one of the multitude answered and said, Master, I have brought unto thee my son, which hath a dumb spirit. And wheresoever he taketh him, he teareth him, and he foameth and gnasheth with his teeth, and pineth away. And I spake to thy disciples that they should cast him out, and they could not. He answereth him and saith, O faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him unto me. And they brought him unto him, and when he saw him, straightway the spirit tear him, and he fell on the ground and wallowed foaming. And he asked his father, How long is it ago since this came unto him? And he said, Of a child. And oftentimes it had cast him into the fire and into the waters to destroy him. But if thou canst do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Jesus said unto him, If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. When Jesus saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the foul spirit, saying unto him, Thou dumb and deaf spirit, I charge thee, come out of him, and enter no more into him. And the spirit cried, rent him sore, came out of him, and he was as one dead. And so much that many said, He is dead. But Jesus took him by the hand, lifted him up, and he arose. And when he was come into the house, the disciples, of course, asked him privately, Why could we not cast him out? And he said, This kind can come forth by nothing but prayer and fasting. You eat too much. As I was talking to the Reverend William Davis, and this particular scripture came to mind, I gave some thought to the fact that the Father of the Son could not give him total deliverance. And so immediately the subject would come to mind, take him to Jesus. Whoever it is that you have in your care, ultimately for total deliverance, you have to take them to Jesus. But I gave some consideration to the fact that before he can take him to Jesus, he has to be able to perform whatever is within his strength to perform. In other words, he ultimately has in his future to take him to that place of ultimate deliverance. But before he gets to the place of ultimate deliverance, that Father has to do all that he can do. And so the thought came to mind that each one of us can only do what we have the capacity to do. But if we do what we have the capacity to do with the intensity that we ought to do it, then somewhere along the way, the Lord will step in. You can't do but what you can do. But in doing what you can do, you fall within the category where he says, if you're faithful over few, I will make you ruler over many. So I want to talk a little bit about doing all you can do until God makes the difference. When you understand life and when we deal with the issues of life, if there's anything that I have grasped over the years of my life, I understand that life is a power encounter. Whenever you're dealing with life, you're always dealing with forces that you have to overcome and survive. I don't know anyone in here, in fact, I can speak, and I don't have to speak prophetically, I can speak simply out of experience, that there is nobody in this building right now who haven't had to overcome a challenge. I know you look good and you look sanctified and you're wearing all kinds of designer clothing and you look just marvelous. But I'm not going by how you look. Because the truth is, that's just an outward adorning. And the fact is that in order for you even to dress up and make up and look good today, you still had to overcome something. Because life is a matter of clashing. Life is a matter of power encounters. Life is a matter of forces and counterforces where there's always something that is arising that you have to deal with. Just as soon as you think you have put everything in place, something else comes up that you have to deal with. And then, to tell the truth, sometimes the things that you think you have put under your feet and the things that you have begun to have some comfort in, they rear up again, and you find yourself having to deal with things that are past while you deal with things that are present, and you somehow hope that you don't worry about the things that are to come. Every one of us is in a power move right now. I think it was Emily Dickinson who said, to be alive is power. Just to be able to rise out of your bed in the middle of the oppression and the depression that sometimes seems to sit in and on us, just to get up and shake yourself and give God some glory in the morning is indicative of the fact that you have overcome something. Many times we look at the negative, and many times we see ourselves as failures. But the truth is, if you're clothed and in your right mind, God has been helping you somewhere. And I think every now and then you ought to forget about what it is that you have not achieved and give God thanks for the fact that you're still in the fight. Oh, I haven't got it all together, but I'm still in the fight. And I'm still believing that if I hold my place, that God will deliver me sooner or later. He will show up. When you deal with power then, and Jesus, he declares it to us that just to be alive is power, all in and of itself. So when I talk about power, then I talk about power in one sense. It is the power to make changes. Any individual who is going to overcome and have any modicum of success has to have the power to make changes. But also, when you deal with power, you have to have the ability not to allow some things to change. Should I go over that? When you have power, power is evident, and power is never in a vacuum. You never have power where there is no challenge. Anytime you want to prove how strong you are, You can only prove how strong you are in the middle of a challenge. Nobody grows where there is no challenge. Oh, I wish I could say to you that you can become powerful and you can become great where there is no challenge at all. It never happened. You have to push against something in order to gain some muscles. You have to exercise in order to gain strength. You will never be strong just sitting around doing nothing. You have to get involved in moving things and lifting things and pulling things in order to get some strength. There was a story told once, and the man was pushing against the boulder, and the boulder wouldn't move. And he'd come every day, and he'd push against the boulder, and the boulder wouldn't move. And someone said, well, why are you pushing against this boulder? It's totally futile because the boulder won't move. And the other person said, all right, why don't you take a look at yourself and compare yourself with what you were before you started pushing the boulder. What happened was the boulder didn't move, but the muscles in the individual became bigger and the person became stronger. There are some situations in our life that will not change, but we still have to fight those situations every day. The situation may not change, but we change. And we are better and stronger because we stayed in the fight. Instead of running away looking for cover, we stood there and we stayed in the fight until God made us greater than we were before we got in the situation. You see, sometimes we're looking to get out of a situation that God is keeping us in order to make us stronger until he brings the deliverance. Don't you ever think that God is not going to see your fight. And here's what he says. He says, if you suffer a while, you will reign with him. So don't look at your suffering as destructive. Look at your suffering as a power to take you to the next level. I'm not suffering to stay where I am. I'm suffering to move to a higher and greater level. So I'm not looking for pity while I'm going through. I'm looking for praise while I'm going through, because on the other side, it's going to be victory like you never saw. Give somebody a high five. Tell your neighbor, I've already got the victory. Power then is the ability to cause change. But power is also the ability to prevent change. So if I may take my time, and I'm not going to keep you too much longer, there is power then in two dimensions. The first is power that we call latent power. And this power is power that has not yet been developed. So you've got power that is actual power, that's one. And then you have power that is latent power, with the power of potentiality. Should I go over that again? While you exist on a day-to-day basis, you have what we call actual power. When you walked into this building, you walked in here with a power that has already been manifested. When you stepped into the house, you stepped in with power that is manifested by every step that you take. But there is another power that you have not yet tapped into, and yet it exists. Jesus is talking to a man, and the man has a problem because he has been formed by his circumstance. Can I go over that again? He has been formed by his circumstance because what is happening to his son didn't just happen. It was happening since he was a child. Now, the question that I would ask is, because of the omniscience of Jesus, why would Jesus ask him, when did it begin? Because Jesus already knew that it had always been in his life. So I have to conclude that he's asking him for our sake. And that as we needed to know that this was not a problem that just arose, this is a problem that has been going on since he was a child. Now understand this, that circumstances form attitudes. If you go through something long enough, and if you have to deal with something over a period of time, it affects you adversely. I want you to give some consideration that when Satan is moving against you, he is not just moving against you in circumstances, just to move against you in circumstances. What he wants is the effect of the circumstance to become a part of your thinking, so that he does not have to give you another circumstance in order to control your mind. Let me put it another way. You have a child that you're out in the country, and every now and then you go to town. So you don't go to town every day. Now the kids, if you're in the inner city, you can run across the street to the store. But now let's go to the country. Somebody knows about being in the country. And you're going into the city maybe once a week. And you're coming back with some goods once a week. Now the child is saying to you, Mommy, Daddy, please bring me some chocolate. And of course you say, okay, I'm going to get you some chocolate. And just as soon as I get to the city, I'm bringing you some chocolate. Now, the child runs out when you come back. And they run out and say, Daddy, can I help you with the bags? Mommy, can I help you with the bags? They really don't want to help you with the bags. What's on their mind is the fact that you promised them some chocolate, and they're looking for the chocolate. So let's hurry up and get these bags in the house so I can get my chocolate. Now, if you don't bring that chocolate 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times, you are now forming cynicism, skepticism, disbelief, and you're taking faith out of a child. Because their expectation is being shot down time after time after time until they no longer believe what you say. There are situations and circumstances that leave you psychologically debilitated because of the consistency of the attack without any kind of deliverance. I want you to understand this. This man is in a state of mind where he is saying to Jesus, if you have any compassion, have mercy on us. Why? Because he's now in a state of mind where he has been formed by the negative event that has taken place in the life of his son. How long has this been going on? Since he was a child. So not only is the child affected, his father is affected because of the circumstance that he had no power to change. I want you to understand the power of helplessness and the debilitating attitudes that arise when you're in a situation of helplessness. When you know what you ought to do, but you don't have the power to do it. Oh, I want to talk to somebody in here today. And I want to extend to you in the middle of all of the difficulties of your life. I want to extend an encouragement that if you can just hold on long enough, the Lord is on the way. I feel like preaching in here today, but I'm just going to talk a little bit. It is critical then to see that something has been going on since he was a child. So now you have to ask the Father, what were you doing while he was suffering? I want you just to think with me now through here. Dad. Since he was a child, he was endeavoring to put him in the fire. He wanted to burn him up, and when he couldn't burn him up, he wanted to drown him. And he said, oftentimes, he put him in the fire. And I want to say to every father in here, and maybe I might talk to mothers too after all this. It's indicative of the fact that if the child is still alive, somebody had to be taking him out of the fire. Think with me now, let's be logical here. The father is in a state of psychological debilitation based on the fact that he can't bring deliverance. Total deliverance. But has anybody asked who was the one who was making sure that he was in the fire, he got out? Somebody had to be there to deliver him from the fire when the fires came up. And somebody had to be there to take him out of the water when the devil was trying to drown him. It seems to me that even though Dad didn't have the power to deliver, he had the power to help him when the situation arose until Jesus was able to set him free. All I'm saying to you, Dad, is just hang in there and do what you can do until the Lord makes the difference in your life. I feel like shouting in here. You see, there's one thing I can say about the Father, and that he didn't give up on the Son. And he didn't allow himself to say, since I can't do anything about it, I won't do anything at all. No, I can't deliver him totally and completely, but I can keep him alive until power from on high exhibits itself. That's all God is asking you to do. Can I take it a little further before I quit? I want to just go to a whole nother story. Lazarus is laying in the tomb, and Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. Why is he dead for 4 days? Why did Jesus wait so long? Because our Jewish brothers believe that the spirit is still hovering on the earth for 72 hours. After 72 hours, they conclude that the individual is really dead. When Jesus comes to the tomb, he's got the power to raise Lazarus from the dead. But he won't roll away the stone. Are you all with me? Or am I by myself? He's about to call Lazarus out of the grave, but he tells them to roll away the stone. What is he saying to me? He's saying to me, you can't raise the dead, but you can roll away the stone. So I'm not about to do what you can do, because you can't do Somebody's got to keep that boy out of the fire. Somebody's got to keep that boy from drowning until help comes from on high. Dad, I'm not telling you to do the impossible. I'm not telling you to do a miracle. I'm just simply telling you, do what you can do until God sends help. You don't have to be a millionaire to keep him out of the fire. You don't have to be a millionaire to keep him from drowning. You have advice. You have been through some things in life. You don't have to drive a Rolls Royce to help your child have the right attitude towards life. You don't have to shop at Gucci for your child to have the right mindset. Do what you can do. And let God make the difference. You can pray. You can call on the Lord. You don't have to be right to pray. Judas can pray. Call on the Lord. When you don't have the strength, call on the Lord. When you don't know what to do, call on the Lord. You can open your mouth. You can ask God for help. You can pull the kids together. You can sit them in the house and say, let's pray. I don't know what to do, but I know somebody who has the power to do it. Keep him out of the fire. Keep him out of the flood. Don't let him drown. Don't give up on him. Don't turn your back on him. Keep him out of the fire. I'm closing. He comes with all of what he's been through. You know, it's interesting. I plug in my iPad into my desktop, and the sign flashes. Do you trust this computer? Trust or don't trust. I plug the lesser into the greater, and the greater says, do you trust this? And it goes both ways. There are times when we meet the greater, but because we've been formed by the lesser, we're looking at our blessing and we can't get our minds to grasp. Sometimes we have struggled so long until we don't know our blessing when we see it. I don't feel like hollering today. Sometimes we've been through so much that every time we look at somebody, we think here comes another problem. When God has a blessing disguised in an individual who is moving into your life. But I've been hurt so much. I was telling them the other day, the men yesterday, that the blame that is placed upon me oftentimes is I'm too trusting. You say you trust too easy. But who wants to live a life where every time I look at somebody, I look at them with skeptics? Every time I come in the room with a stranger, I look at them as if they're an enemy. Because sometimes you've been burned so much in your life that you stop trusting. And when you stop trusting, it limits your life. It limits how freely you talk. It limits how freely you give. It limits how freely you behave, because you've been hurt so much you can't trust anybody. Now, with all the hell that this man has been through with the child, he comes to the disciples and they can't help him. You know, it's sad when folk come into the house of God and the people in the house of God are so messed up with their own insecurity that they can't help somebody. Oh, I tell you one thing, no matter what you've been through, you got to press through the saints. You got to get over some folk who are trying to have power, who have no power whatsoever. The problem with the church is powerless people are trying to act like they got power, and they're hurting people all the time. People with power don't show up all the time and show out. People with power sit quietly somewhere, ain't got nothing negative to say, but if you run up on them with a problem, they'll send deliverance your way like you ain't never had. Hey! You got to get over church folk to get blessed. I came to your disciples with all the hell I've been through with the boy. I heard about the church, and I came over here with my son looking for help. The people who are around you aren't always close to you. I wish I could get somebody to understand that. People who are around you oftentimes don't learn from you. Let me simplify. How many in here have been around mother for 17 years, 15 years? How many ladies in here been at home for 10 years, 15 years? Let me see your hand. Been around Big Mama. Now I got one simple question. Can you cook? What a disgrace if your husband got to stop by his mama's house before he come home to you so he can get some good cooking. You've been around your mama for 15 years and still ain't learned how to cook. What a disgrace. Do you know how many people have been around your anointing and been around your giftedness, been around your presentation, been around your attitude and your behavior, and still don't know how to treat people? Still don't know how to be generous. Still don't know how to shut your mouth and let some things pass without you saying a word. Still don't know how to bring peace instead of war. Still don't know how to settle something down instead of stir something up. Been around you all these years and ain't learned a thing. I came to their disciples. They watched you walk on water, heal the sick, raise the dead. And I brought them to my son to them, and they couldn't do a thing. Now, can you imagine now? I've come to the house of help and can't get any help in the house of mercy. Like the man at the pool, Bethsaida is a house of mercy. And for 38 years, my goodness. But when you have a father, even though he's helpless, he believes. feel like shouting on that one. I can't do anything about delivering him. I can keep him out of situations, but I can't stop him from getting into them. But every time he needs me, I'm going to show up. Every time he calls for me, I'm going to be there. I can't get him out of every situation, but I'm going to try until he gets deliverance, until he can stand on his own 2 feet. As long as I'm his daddy, I'm going to show up and I'm going to show out with everything I have. It may not be enough, but it's all I have. And if I give all I have, I'm looking for God to make the difference. That's all I want to say to your fathers. So the time of reckoning has come. And he looks at the Lord, he says, if you can do anything, because I have been doing anything all my life. Jesus says, you're not looking at an anything kind of a God. For the first time, you have met all things. You've been doing anything, but I do all things. So if you can just believe, we can turn this thing around. I feel like having church. I don't know what you come to do, but I'm looking for all things. Give somebody a high five for the last time and say, neighbor, not just anything, but all. Woo. I live my life with anything long enough. I'm looking for all things now. I'm looking for all things. Jesus said, if thou canst believe. And he set that boy free. And I'm going to tell you another thing you got to get over. Envious folk. Wasn't nobody there helping him when he had to pull that boy out the fire. Keep him from getting drowned. But as soon as he got his miracle, the skeptics come up. Amen. He's dead. No, he ain't dead. He's just been released. Had to get that old life out of him for the new life to come in. Oh yeah, they thought you were dead when they didn't see you anymore. When you got out of the scene, when you broke out from the club, when you got away from running the streets, they thought you were dead. No, I ain't dead. I just gave up the old life so the new life can come in. I just walked away from deadness so I could live again. I just walked away from the trials of life to step into the blessings of life, and I'm ready to live.